Hello everyone, and a good evening. Imagine you are walking a path you thought you knew, and suddenly, you come to a dead end. A sheer wall of rock, impassable and absolute. But as your eyes adjust to the dim light, you notice a hairline crack, a seam in the stone you almost missed, glowing with a faint warm light from within. Let's be frank with the reality. Our habits and thought patterns are silently holding back our potential. So, before we get comfortable, please take a quick moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you really love what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. It's always wonderful to see where our community is gathered. And finally, let's end with these exact words. Now, let's turn off the lights, turn on a fan for some pleasant sound, and begin our journey for tonight. There is a profound paradox at the heart of the human experience. We are creatures built for growth, for expansion, for becoming. Yet we are conditioned to seek comfort, ease, and the path of least resistance. We dream of greatness, but we hope for a journey without struggle. We are told that when a great blessing is on its way, it is a gift from a benevolent universe. But what if the path to that greatness is not what we expect? What if it is paved, not with ease, but with challenges, with struggles, and with moments of profound soul-shaking uncertainty? Life presents no shortcuts to the dreams you hold in your heart. But when a truly transformative force is preparing to enter your life, it does not simply hand you a blessing. Instead, it begins a process of transforming you into the person who can handle the weight of that blessing. And this transformation, almost without exception, is uncomfortable. You begin to feel stretched beyond your limits, as if the very fabric of your being is being pulled in new, unfamiliar directions. The things you once held dear might start to feel distant. Old, comfortable patterns of thought and behavior begin to fracture. Your world may start to feel disorienting, as if the map you were using no longer corresponds to the territory you are in. It is precisely in these moments of discomfort that the deepest work is being done. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, a pioneer in exploring the depths of the human psyche, once remarked, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." This isn't a pessimistic view. It is a realistic one. It suggests that the pain is not a sign that something has gone wrong, but a signal that a profound awakening is taking place. The discomfort is not a test to be endured passively. It is an active catalyst for change. Modern neuroscience calls this process neuroplasticity, the brain's incredible ability to physically reorganize itself in response to new experiences and challenges. Psychologists have a term for the positive change that can arise from such periods: post-traumatic growth, a phenomenon where individuals report significant positive shifts in their lives because of the struggle they endured, not in spite of it. So, this journey we are embarking on tonight is about shifting our core question. We will move away from the passive, despairing question, "Why is this happening to me?" and step into the active, empowered inquiry, "What am I being called to become?" Because of this is not a journey about simply surviving hardship. It is about understanding, on a psychological, philosophical, and even biological level, how to transmute the lead of our suffering into the gold of our highest potential. It is about learning to see that glowing crack in the stone wall not as a flaw, but as the entrance to a new world. When this period of intense preparation begins, it often feels less like construction and more like demolition. It can manifest as a season of profound pruning, a stripping away of what has become unnecessary in your life, so that you have the capacity to carry the weight of what is to come. You may not understand it at the time, but the pain, the struggle, the loss, it is all part of this deep, internal process. Just as a gardener must prune a vine to allow it to bear more fruit, you must undergo a process of personal refinement to handle the greatness that is on its way. This pruning is not merely about losing a job or a relationship ending. It is far deeper than that. It is the experience of doors closing with a resounding finality. Opportunities you were certain of, paths you were convinced were yours to walk, may seem to vanish overnight. Relationships that once formed the bedrock of your identity may shift, fade, or break entirely, leaving you with a disorienting sense of loneliness. You may feel abandoned, not just by people, but by the very universe you thought you had a contract with. In this solitude, you are being prepared to step into a future that requires your full attention, your undivided heart, and your complete trust. Let us be clear. This experience is not a sign of divine abandonment or personal failure. It is a sign of divine preparation, a necessary clearing of the ground before a new foundation can be laid. Psychologically, what is happening is a seismic event. Researchers who study how people grow from difficult times describe it as an earthquake that shatters the very foundation of our beliefs. All our lives, we build a worldview, a set of assumptions about who we are, how the world works, and our place in it. A significant loss, a major failure, or a period of intense uncertainty can fracture that foundation, leaving us feeling unsure of everything we thought we knew. Our very identity is challenged. This is where the true discomfort lies. It is not just the pain of the loss itself, but the cognitive dissonance of living without a coherent story. The old narrative of your life has ended, but the new one has not yet begun. You are in the space between stories. It is in this vulnerable, uncertain space that we are forced to ask the questions we never thought we would have to ask. Who am I, really? Without this job, this relationship, this identity? What truly matters to me now? What do I want the next chapter of my life to be about? This is the essence of the pruning. It is the shedding of roles, beliefs, and aspects of your identity that no longer serve the person you are becoming. It feels like a loss because you are letting go of a part of yourself. But this clearing is essential. Without it, there is no room for new growth. And it is in this cleared, quiet space that a dangerous pattern can emerge. When we feel lost and motivation wanes, our natural tendency is to withdraw, to become inactive. This inactivity, however, only deepens the feelings of lethargy and sadness, creating what therapists call a vicious cycle. We feel bad, so we do less. We do less, so we feel worse. Understanding this cycle is the first step toward breaking it, a task we will address later. For now, it is enough to recognize this season of pruning for what it is, not an ending, but a profound and necessary emptying, creating the sacred space required for your truest self to finally emerge. We have described the feeling of being pruned, of being tested, of having the ground shift beneath our feet. But to truly understand this process, we must be willing to go deeper, beyond the surface of external events, and into the hidden roots of our own psyche. Why do certain challenges affect us so profoundly? Why do specific people or situations irritate us to our core? The answers often lie not in the events themselves, but in what those events trigger within us. Carl Jung dedicated his life to mapping these inner territories. He proposed that much of our experience is governed by the unconscious mind, a vast reservoir of feelings, thoughts, urges, and memories outside of our conscious awareness. He famously stated, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This single idea is revolutionary. It reframes the notion of a predetermined destiny into a journey of psychological self-discovery. The events that feel like fate are often the unconscious parts of ourselves, playing out on the stage of our lives. Within this unconscious realm lies a concept Jung called the shadow. The shadow is the dark side of our personality. It consists of the primitive, instinctual, and often negative human emotions and impulses that we deny in ourselves. It is everything we do not wish to be, and so we repress it, hide it, and pretend it doesn't exist. It is our greed, our rage, our fear, our envy, our laziness. We all have a shadow. Jung taught that everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Here is where it connects to our struggles. When we refuse to acknowledge our own shadow, we tend to see it in others. This is the psychological mechanism of projection. We project our own unacknowledged darkness onto the world around us. As Jung noted, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. That person at work whose ambition infuriates you might be mirroring your own repressed desire for success. The perceived weakness in a friend, that you judge so harshly might be a reflection of a vulnerability you cannot accept in yourself. This brings us to a staggering realization. The tests and obstacles we face are often not random. They are frequently tailor-made to trigger our shadow material. Jung went so far as to suggest that whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. Think about that. The parts of yourself you have disowned and refuse to look at do not simply disappear. They manifest externally as challenging situations or difficult people, begging to be seen and integrated. Life, in its profound wisdom, doesn't just test our strength, it presents us with a mirror. The struggle out there is an invitation to do the work in here. The goal, then, is not to vanquish the shadow. That is impossible and would leave us incomplete. The goal is to make the darkness conscious. It is to turn and face those parts of ourselves with courage and compassion. Jung was clear. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the beginning of true wholeness. The season of struggle, then, can be reinterpreted as a season of integration. It is an opportunity to reclaim the lost and rejected parts of your soul, to withdraw your projections from the world, and to become a more complete, authentic, and powerful human being. It is terrifying work, to be sure. Jung himself said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, but it is the only path to true and lasting transformation." We have journeyed inward, exploring the hidden psychological roots of our struggles. We've seen how the unconscious mind and the shadow self can shape our reality. Now, with this deeper self-awareness, we need a new operating system for life, a practical philosophy to guide our actions when we face the inevitable challenges of the world. For this, we turn to the ancient wisdom of the Stoics. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man in the world, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, sat down in his tent during a military campaign and wrote in his private journal. He wasn't writing for publication, he was writing to himself, to remind himself how to live, how to be a good man in a world of chaos, plague, and war. In those pages, which we now know as his meditations, he crystallized a principle so powerful it has echoed through the centuries. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Let that sink in for a moment. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is not just a clever phrase. It is a complete revolution in perspective. It is the aha moment that changes everything. The Stoics taught that the universe is not hostile, nor is it benevolent. It simply is. Events happen, people act in certain ways. We get sick, we face loss, we are betrayed. These things are, for the most part, outside of our control. Wasting our energy wishing they were different, complaining about them, or raging against them, is, in the Stoic view, a form of insanity. It is like shouting at the rain to stop. The Stoics developed a practice they called the dichotomy of control. It is the simple, yet life-altering, discipline of separating what is within our control from what is not. What is not in our control? External events, the past, the actions of other people, the weather. What is in our control? Our thoughts, our judgments, our responses, our will. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the foundation. But the obstacle is the way takes it one step further. It's not just about enduring what we can't control, it's about using it. It's about seeing every obstacle, every frustration, every setback not as a barrier to our path, but as the path itself. The obstacle is not something to be avoided or merely tolerated. It is the raw material, the fuel, for our growth and our virtue. Marcus Aurelius used a powerful metaphor. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. A weak fire is extinguished by a new log. A strong fire consumes it and burns even hotter. The obstacle is that log. The challenge is to build a strong enough inner fire of virtue, of reason, of courage that you can use anything that happens to you as fuel. This is the ultimate alchemy of the human spirit. The challenge that was meant to block you becomes the very thing that builds your strength. The betrayal that was meant to break your heart becomes the thing that teaches you compassion. The failure that was meant to humiliate you becomes the thing that grants you wisdom and humility. The Stoic framework doesn't ask you to believe that everything happens for a reason in a passive, fatalistic way. It asks you to give everything a reason. You have the power to decide what any event will mean. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. The obstacle is just an external fact. Its power to harm you or help you lies entirely within your perception. And that perception is the one thing you can always control. This is the way. The idea that the obstacle is the way is a powerful philosophical principle. But it is not just a nice idea or a poetic metaphor. It is a reflection of the deep biological and psychological wiring of the human organism. Modern science is now providing stunning evidence for what the ancient Stoics understood intuitively. Let's deconstruct how this process of turning adversity into advantage actually works. It begins in the very architecture of your brain. For centuries, we believed the adult brain was a fixed, static organ. We now know this is profoundly untrue. The brain possesses a quality called neuroplasticity, which is its ability to reorganize itself, to form new neural connections, and to change in response to learning and experience. Think of it like this. When you first try a new, difficult task, it's like bushwhacking a path through a dense forest. It's hard, slow, and requires immense effort. But if you walk that same path, every day, you begin to wear it down. Twigs break, the undergrowth is trampled, and a clear trail forms. Eventually, the path becomes so well worn that you can walk it automatically, without conscious thought. This is what happens in your brain. When you face a challenge and push through it, you are forcing your brain to create and strengthen new neural pathways. The struggle itself physically rewires your brain to be more capable. This is the biological basis for the famous aphorism from another German philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. What does not kill me makes me stronger. The adversity is literally building a stronger brain. This rewiring sets the stage for a psychological phenomenon known as post-traumatic growth, or PTG, coined in the 1990s by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun. PTG is the positive, psychological change that people experience as a result of struggling with a major life crisis. It's important to distinguish this from resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back to where you were before. PTG is bouncing foot. It is emerging from the struggle fundamentally changed for the better. Tedeschi and Calhoun identified 5 key domains where this growth occurs. First, a greater appreciation for life. People report a newfound ability to savor small, everyday moments and a reordering of their priorities. Second, stronger relationships. Adversity can strip away superficial connections and deepen the bonds with those who truly matter, fostering greater empathy and intimacy. Third, a sense of new possibilities. The destruction of an old life path forces people to see that they can make new choices and live in ways they never considered before. Fourth, a greater sense of personal strength. Having navigated a terrible storm, a person develops a quiet confidence in their ability to handle future difficulties. They think, if I survived that, I can survive anything. And fifth, a significant, spiritual or existential change. People often report a deepening of their faith, or a more profound understanding of their place in the universe and the meaning of their life. Crucially, this growth is not a direct result of the traumatic event itself. It is the result of the cognitive struggle with the event. The growth happens in the wrestling match your mind has with the new, unwelcome reality. It happens when you actively work to make sense of what happened, to rebuild your shattered worldview, and to create a new narrative for your life. This is where the concept of stress becomes nuanced. When a challenge feels like a threat that is beyond our ability to cope, we experience distress, which is harmful. But when we perceive a challenge as something we can handle, even if it's difficult, we experience eustress, or good stress. Eustress is what motivates us. focuses up energy, and leads to growth. The Stoic principle of perception is the key that turns distress into utility. By choosing to see the obstacle as a challenge rather than a threat, you are signaling to your brain and body that this is a situation for growth, not for defeat. You are not a passive victim of circumstance. You are an active participant in your own evolution. The struggle is not a sign that you are broken. It is the very mechanism of your becoming. Understanding the philosophy and the science is the first half of the journey. The second, and more important half, is putting it into practice. So, how do we begin to actively transform obstacles into fuel? How do we start when we feel overwhelmed, unmotivated, and stuck? The answer is, we start small, with proven practical tools. Tonight, we will place 2 foundational tools into your toolkit. The first is for your mind. The second is for your body. The first tool is called cognitive reframing. It is a cornerstone technique of cognitive behavioral therapy, and it is the practical application of the Stoic discipline of perception. It is a systematic process for challenging and changing the negative thought patterns that cause our suffering. It works in 4 simple steps. First, identify the automatic negative thought. When you feel a wave of sadness or anxiety, pause and ask, what, exactly, was the thought that just went through my mind? Write it down. For example, I failed the presentation. I'm terrible at my job. Second, evaluate the evidence. Like a detective, look for facts that support and contradict this thought. I did miss a key point, but several colleagues said they found it helpful. My last performance review was positive. Third, challenge the thought's validity. This is where you use Socratic questioning to probe its logic. Is one imperfect presentation absolute proof that I am terrible at my job? Is that a fair conclusion? What is a more balanced way to see this? And fourth, generate an alternative perspective. Create a new, more realistic, and compassionate thought. I made a mistake in the presentation, which is disappointing, but it's an opportunity to learn. I am a capable person who is still growing. This is not about lying to yourself with blind positivity. It's about finding the truth. The second tool is for when your mind is too exhausted to reframe and your motivation is at 0. It is called behavioral activation. This therapeutic approach is based on a simple but profound premise. Action precedes motivation. It does not follow it. When we are depressed or overwhelmed, we wait to feel good before we do anything. Behavioral activation flips the script. It says, do something first, and the good feelings will follow. It is the key to breaking the vicious cycle of inactivity and low mood we spoke of earlier. The key is to start ridiculously small. Schedule 1 or 2 simple activities into your day, focusing on things that provide a sense of either fun or achievement. Achievement could be as simple as making your bed or washing one dish. Fun could be listening to one favorite song or stepping outside for 2 minutes of sunlight. The task itself doesn't matter as much as the act of keeping a promise to yourself. Each small action builds a tiny bit of momentum and self-efficacy, creating a new virtuous cycle. Action leads to a sense of mastery, which improves mood, which slowly builds motivation for the next action. These 2 tools, one for your thoughts, one for your actions, present you with a fundamental choice. There is a timeless piece of wisdom, a story told by the elders of the Cherokee people, that captures this choice perfectly. An old man is teaching his grandson about life. He says, "A fight is going on inside me. It is a terrible fight, and it is between 2 wolves. One is evil, he is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, and false pride. The other is good, he is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, empathy, and truth. This same fight is going on inside you, and inside every other person, too." The grandson thinks about it for a minute, and then asks his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replies, "The one you feed." Cognitive reframing is how you choose which thoughts to feed. Behavioral activation is how you choose which actions to feed. Every single day, in every small moment, You hold the power to decide which wolf grows stronger. This is where the journey begins. The tools of reframing our thoughts and activating our behaviors are powerful. They can help us navigate the vast majority of life's obstacles. But we must be honest with ourselves. There are moments, and there are tragedies, that defy There is suffering so profound that no amount of positive thinking can erase its sting. There are situations so constricting that action feels impossible. What do we do then? What happens when the obstacle is not a stepping stone, but a crushing, unmovable mountain? It is in these moments that we must go beyond the pursuit of strength, and even beyond the pursuit of growth, and embark on a search for something deeper, a search for meaning. For this, we turn to a man who faced the darkest abyss of human history, and emerged with a light for all of humanity, Viktor Frankl. Frankl was an Austrian psychiatrist who survived the horrors of the Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz. He lost his parents, his brother, and his pregnant wife. He was stripped of everything, subjected to starvation, torture, and the constant presence of death. And yet, in the midst of this unimaginable suffering, he made a discovery that would form the basis of his life's work, a school of psychotherapy called logotherapy. He realized that the crucial difference between those who survived and those who perished was not physical strength, but the strength that comes from having a sense of meaning, a why to live for. Frankl's most profound insight was a radical shift in perspective. He wrote, "Ultimately, man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather must recognize that it is he who is asked. In a word, each man is questioned by life, and he can only answer to life by answering for his own life. Life is not something we make demands of. It is something that makes demands of us. Our task is to answer." Frankl taught that even in the face of unavoidable suffering, we can find meaning. He wrote, "In some way, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of a sacrifice." He tells a powerful story of an elderly doctor who was inconsolable with grief after his beloved wife died. Frankl asked him, "What would have happened, doctor, if you had died first, and your wife would have had to survive you?" The doctor replied, "Oh, for her, this would have been terrible. How she would have suffered." Frankl responded, "You see, doctor, such a suffering has been spared her, and it is you who have spared her this suffering. But now, you have to pay for it by surviving and mourning her." The man said nothing, but took Frankl's hand and quietly left the office. His suffering had not been removed, but its meaning had been transformed. It was no longer a sign of his loss, but a testament to his love. This is the power we always retain. This is what Frankl called the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. When we cannot change our situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. This wisdom is not unique to Frankl. It is a timeless truth echoed across cultures. A Japanese proverb teaches, "Fall 7 times, stand up 8. A Chinese proverb states, "A gem is not polished without rubbing, nor a person perfected without trials." This journey challenges the modern obsession with happiness. Frankl argued that happiness cannot be pursued. It must ensue as the byproduct of a life of meaning. What we truly need is not a life free from tension, but a life of striving and struggling for a goal worthy of us. When the obstacle is truly insurmountable, our task is not to break it, but to find the meaning hidden within it. That meaning becomes the light that can guide us through even the darkest of nights. Once we have learned to face our obstacles, to use them as fuel, and to find meaning even in unavoidable suffering, a new, more profound level of mastery becomes possible. This is the advanced application of this entire philosophy, a state of being that moves beyond coping and into a state of thriving. It begins with a challenging, almost radical idea. What if you could not just bear what happens, not just accept it, but truly love it? The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche gave this concept a name, amor fati, a Latin phrase for love of one's fate. He described it as his formula for human greatness, that one wants nothing to be different. Not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. This is the ultimate expression of radical acceptance. It is the deep, unwavering belief that everything that has happened in your life, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, the triumphs and the tragedies, was necessary to bring you to this exact moment, and to make you the person you are. It is looking at the entire tapestry of your life and saying, yes, all of it. This profound level of personal integration may seem like a purely philosophical or spiritual pursuit, but it has startlingly practical implications for the world we are living in today. In the ongoing academic debate about the future of work, a central question has emerged. As artificial intelligence becomes more capable, what is the role of human beings? What can we do that machines cannot? Researchers at MIT have developed a framework to answer this question, identifying 5 groups of uniquely human capabilities that AI struggles to replicate. They call it the EPOC framework. E stands for empathy and emotional intelligence, the ability to form meaningful connections. P is for presence and networking, the power of human connection in a physical space. O is for opinion, judgment, and ethics, the capacity to navigate ambiguity and make decisions based on values, not just data. C is for creativity and imagination, the ability to envision possibilities beyond current reality. And H is for hope, vision, and leadership, the grit and perseverance to take on a challenge despite long odds. For decades, the world has prioritized the development of hard skills, technical, measurable abilities. But we are now realizing that these soft skills, these deeply human qualities, are becoming the new, essential skills for the future. And here is the most incredible insight of all. Look again at that list of irreplaceable human capabilities. Empathy, ethical judgment, creativity, hope. Where are these qualities forged? They are the direct outcomes of post-traumatic growth. The 5 domains of PTG: a deeper appreciation for life, stronger relationships, new possibilities, personal strength, and spiritual change, almost a one-to-one map onto the EPOC capabilities. The very process of struggling with adversity, of making the darkness conscious, of finding meaning in suffering, is what cultivates the exact qualities that make us most valuable and most human. Your greatest struggles, the periods of your life that felt like a detour or a dead end, were actually your most intensive training ground. The pain that you thought was breaking you was, in fact, forging in you the skills that are most needed in the world. The journey of personal transformation is not a retreat from the world. It is the most advanced form of preparation for it. Your deepest wounds are the source of your most irreplaceable strengths. We have talked about this journey of transformation in terms of philosophy, psychology, and science. But to truly grasp its nature, its messinius, its mystery, and its ultimate beauty, we must turn to the natural world. There is no more powerful metaphor for what we have been discussing than the metamorphosis of a butterfly. We see a caterpillar, a simple earthbound creature, whose entire existence is devoted to crawling and consuming. Then, at a preordained time, it hangs itself upside down, sheds its skin, and forms a hard, protective shell called a chrysalis. From the outside, it appears to be a period of rest, a quiet waiting. But what happens inside that chrysalis is one of the most violent and miraculous events in nature. The caterpillar does not simply sprout wings, it digests itself. It releases enzymes called caspases that dissolve its own body into a rich, protein-heavy liquida, butterfly, goo. Almost everything that it was, its prolegs, its chewing mouthparts, its very formers, deconstructed into a chaotic, primordial soup. This is the disorienting and uncomfortable phase we spoke of, taken to its most extreme. It is the complete dissolution of the old self. But hidden within that goo, a set of highly organized cells that were dormant in the caterpillar survive. They are called imaginal discs. These discs hold the blueprint, the imagination, of the butterfly to come. Fed by the nutrient-rich soup of the dissolved caterpillar, these imaginal discs begin their work. They are the architects of the resurrection, using the raw materials of the old self to build something entirely new. Long antennae, complex compound eyes, slender legs, and magnificent intricate wings. After days or weeks, the transformation is complete. But the struggle is not over. The butterfly must break out of the chrysalis. It emerges weak and vulnerable, its wings soft, crumpled, and wet. It is incapable of flight. It must cling to its empty shell and patiently pump a fluid called leftover waste from its transformation into the veins of its wings, slowly expanding them to their full glory. Only after this period of patient, vulnerable unfolding can it finally take flight, a creature reborn, capable of soaring in a world the caterpillar could never have known. This is the true picture of transformation. It is not a simple, linear improvement. It is a process of deconstruction, of dissolving into chaos, of trusting the imaginal discs of your deeper self to guide the reconstruction. The uncomfortable, disorienting, goo phase is not a sign that you are failing. It is the very essence of the process. It is the necessary prerequisite for growing wings. The period of struggle is the chrysalis, and when you emerge, you will be fragile at first. You will need time to dry your wings, to understand your new form, before you can truly fly. But you will have become something new, something more, something capable of a beauty and freedom you could not have imagined before the struggle began. Our journey tonight has taken us through the heart of human struggle and into the landscape of our deepest potential. We began by seeing obstacles as uncomfortable tests. Then, we learned to see them as mirrors, reflecting the hidden parts of our own souls. We discovered the ancient wisdom that allows us to see them as fuel for our inner fire. And finally, we witnessed how they can become the very raw material of our most profound transformation. The path to greatness is not about seeking hardship, but about learning how to respond when it inevitably finds us. The philosopher Albert Camus spoke of learning how to braid with white thread and black thread a single cord stretched to the breaking point. Life will hand us both threads, the thread of joy and the thread of sorrow, the thread of success and the thread of failure. Our task is not to discard the black thread, but to weave them together. For it is the tension between them that creates a cord strong enough to hold the weight of a meaningful life. This journey is not about becoming invincible or immune to pain. It is about becoming more resilient, more compassionate, more creative, more whole. It is about becoming more authentically human. The final choice always rests with you. It is the choice to turn towards the discomfort, to do the work of integration, and to take ownership of your own becoming. It is the quiet, powerful realization that defines a life of purpose, best captured in the words of Carl Jung. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And so, as our time together this evening comes to a close, allow yourself to sit with this thought. The path forward is not about finding a life without obstacles, but about cultivating the inner capacity to transform any obstacle into a part of your way. It is a slow, quiet, and deeply personal unfolding. It is the gradual realization that the strength you were seeking was being forged within you all along, in the very heart of the fire you thought would consume you. Let go of the need for the journey to be easy, and instead, find the courage to make it meaningful. Trust in the process of your own becoming, in the wisdom of your own chrysalis, and know that when the time is right, you will be ready to unfold your wings.